Any other questions? Okay.
So you put it onto sort of the I state as opposed to going, you must feel sad,
Yes.
or that looks like you feel sad.
Yes.
Instead going, okay, this makes me feel sad, I feel sad when you go more.
Because I guess it's that earlier stage, isn't it? That where you're, because they might not know or recognise what sad is. So you're going, I'm going to model for you what sad is. I'm going to describe how it feels, and then I'm going to give it the word, and I'm going to do that for lots of emotions or feelings, so that you've got the language, you understand your body, or you can at least see me working through that. And then, is there a point where you then get them to do that work and start to reflect on that themselves?
Yes.
Would that come up? That would come after.
So that's the goal.
Yeah.
So the goal is for the child to do reflective awareness, to be connected to their body, to be connected to themselves. And so this, I'll show you, so this, if you, maybe we can pass this in. So,
It sounds a bit Gustav.
yes.
And here and now.
It does.
Yes.
Authentic.
Yes. So the one who created this play therapy model is, her foundations are interpersonal neurobiology, so Dan Siegel, Alan Shore, so the ones who are leading the research on brain, the brain science behind all of this. And then there's Gestalt, experiential, and child-centered. So these are her foundations. So what it's saying is that they offer us, or the child offers us information or a window into their world. So by us as a therapist being authentic and owning all parts of ourselves through naming and through modeling regulation, we move towards the states within ourselves and we learn to have a relationship with it. So by naming, the energy moves, and my body displays in their visual field how they can also regulate, say, rocking, touching, rubbing my legs, or even holding my head, holding my arms, or touching my arms. So why? We model so that they can move. We allow them, we give them permission to move towards the state within themselves that they've disowned. So the states within themselves that they feel is, that they've been told, or that they feel like, don't go there. So by actually displaying that, we are, as the session progresses, the goal is for them to become regulated. So because when we're mindful and when we are regulated, we are connected to ourselves, or connected to our body. So it just underscores the criticality of naming experiences out loud. So that material that I am distributing, oops. Do you have a copy? Or maybe we can share this. So this is the nervous system systems of regulation and dysregulation. It says that all symptoms of dysregulation arise out of misperceptions of the events in our lives. So when we change our perceptions, we change the symptoms in our nervous system. It is wise to master the art of how to change our perceptions and how to manage the symptoms that arise in our bodies to help return us to a more regulated or ventral state. So the one on the left, it's the sympathetic response, so freeze, flight, or fight, hyper-aroused symptoms. So this is, which is what we see in most of a bulk of our clients, which would be hyper-alertness, hyper-vigilance, increased heart rate, defensive, pounding sensation in the head, anxious, excessive motoric activity, overwhelmed, disorganized, highly irritable, aggressive, dissociated, uncontrollable bouts of rage. And then the other end of the spectrum is the parasympathetic dorsal vagal response, or collapse. So the hypo-aroused, so helpless, lifeless, non-expressive, numb, lacking motivation, lethargic, tired, dull capacity to feel significant events, emotionally constricted, depression, isolated, and dissociation. And then the middle is the regulated part, which is the mindful. You're attached to yourself. So this is where you can think logically, clearly, you can make conscious choices, you can make eye contact, display a range of emotional expression, you are grounded, you're able to notice your breath, your sleep cycles are stable, you're poised, your internal awareness of body and mind is present, and you're in the body, and you can communicate verbally in a clear manner. So just like when Sarah talked to me about sharing skills in working with children, because I don't usually talk and present with a group. So as the others were presenting, I think all of you, like you were presenting a while ago, and the one who just left, I was already, my mind was on presenting. It's my turn. I hope I make everything. I hope I don't miss anything. I feel anxious. People will be looking at me. So I noticed my heart rate going fast, and I noticed I was feeling anxious. So I just needed to name that. I don't need. If I could have named it to someone, I would say that. But really, what part of me felt anxious, part of me felt excited because I'm going to share something that works, that appears to work in what I do every day, and at the same time curious, like how would this all land with all of you. So by doing so, and then also doing my deep breaths and just touching my body during the time that everyone was presenting until this point. So I'm helping myself go into to attach to myself, to become regulated, to become mindful, because I want to present in a way that it's logical, it's clear, and all of this to have eye contact and be grounded. So what is also saying is that, so Lisa, the one who created this therapy, shares this with the parents. She wants to, in a way, share with parents that all of these symptoms, based on the nervous system perspective, based on the brain, there's nothing wrong with all of it. There's nothing bad. All of this has a reason. They all have a function. It has a purpose based on the point of view of the nervous system. There's a reason why a person, when they go hypo, they appear lifeless and they're non-expressive. But apart from doing that, because sometimes parents come in and say, oh, my child is so hypervigilant, I wonder if they have ADHD. So it's like always about diagnosing, like putting a classification. But really, having a trauma-informed approach is that when something happens to them, which is family violence experience, it puts a child into the fight, flight, freeze, or collapse. So even though a child is hypervigilant, it doesn't necessarily mean that, yeah, probably my child has a diagnosis of ADHD. That knowing that this is what happens in our nervous system, these are all expected, because that's what happens when we are surviving, not thriving, and we are experiencing abuse, and the basis of all abuse is that it exerts fear and control. When a person is afraid, or even animals, you're not regulated. You are experiencing dysregulation in your nervous system. So you're either, because it's based on perception, you're either in hypo, thinking I can't do anything about it, and so I'll just disconnect, or I can do something about it. You're either in fight, flight, or freeze. So it educates parents, and at the same time gives them an idea of what goes on in the play therapy process. So one of the main goals in working with children is to have more of the middle part. So how to help children have more mindful moments. So we can't say that at the end of the sessions, let's say 10 to 12 sessions, that your child will turn out this way. We try to give them tools so that, okay, they will experience again continuous, or in their lifetime they will experience all these triggers in relation to the abuse that they've been exposed to for years, the naming, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, or intimidation, power and control. But if they have that capacity to bring themselves into the middle, into the regulated self, so that they're not jumping from hyper to hypo, or staying in hyper and staying in hypo, that they can bring themselves to the middle. And with the aid of the parent, that's why we involve the parents, we collaborate and work with them, because they will be the ones to continue the work that we do when the child is out of the session, because we just see the child say an hour every 2 weeks or an hour every week. So they will be the ones to continue doing that. So this is quite useful, but of course it has to be explained in such a way. And at the back of that, which is really interesting, because what you shared a while ago about the weighted pillow, so it's here. So it's a form of regulation. So these are some examples of activities that can be used to help regulate a dysregulated nervous system. So,
Asma?
yeah, let's think of it.
Do you want to keep one?
Yeah, for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. So those activities that are listed there, that includes the weighted pillow a while ago, these are some things that can help bring a person or a child from hypo or hyper to the middle, the regulated self.